Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future, shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable, ongoing reality. Well, hello, and welcome to Real Talks with the Cummings. My name is Mark Angelo.
And I'm Lena Ariel. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a great show. It's going to get a little interesting, kind of like in the weeds a bit, but It's going to be really insightful for many.
You know, the old ways have stopped working. Oop, I disappeared. The old ways have stopped working. The old paradigm, religious paradigm, the way that people look at the human body and the potential, the formulas that scientists, archaeologists, all the ists in the past are evolving and changing. Yeah. And people are going to have to get used to that because things aren't going to be the way that they used to be. I mean, for starters, AI. That's going to change our world.
Yeah, I mean, it's understated as to what there are so many things going on right now with AI. It's like you look up on the internet, there's like different models, different, chats and, the chat GPT, and then you got Gemini, and then you got like all the different things that Facebook or Meta has, and Elon Musk. And it's like this crazy, like, I don't know, it's like a gold rush right now of AI information. And we don't even know what it's going to do to our life, in the next 5 years. It's going to transform everything.
And the discovery of things, there are people, for instance, we follow this couple, Eamon and Beck, and she's had some challenges with health issues. And, the big C word that 1 out of 2 people are prone to get nowadays with all the toxin chemicals in our environment. And she went the conventional route for a while, hated it. She got some more. I mean, this time it spread all over and it's pretty bad, but she does not want to go the conventional route anymore. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't. Well, there are people that are just tearing her down because they believe they need to do what they would do. Right.
Or what their parents should have done or did do and died.
Yeah.
It's like.
And so they title that as misinformation. And there's been natural healing before Big Pharma became Big Pharma. I mean, our great-grandparents, shamans, healers from the past used all sorts of herbs and used all sorts of vibrational frequency, mumbo jumbo, whatever you want to call it, to help align themselves. That's the key. When you're in alignment, and most people don't believe that, and we're going to have a show about that. We're going to show the science that proves that meditation does work for many things. But, we have this body called the FDA, and we have this body that controls what people say because Big Pharma wants to be on top of that pyramid. But people are learning more and more each day that they are capable of great things. You don't have to feel this small like religion tries to make you feel. You don't have to feel this small like every other, doctor and priest and pastor try to make you feel because they want to be on top of the pyramid.
And again, if you really do want to go that route with medicalization and drugs and all the things that take place in Western society these days, you're welcome to do so. But when a couple is experiencing something so intense and they have chosen not to go the conventional route, it's not misinformation when they state that this is working for them or that is working for them. I mean, in the case of Eamon and Beck is, kind of following some of the principles that Joe Dispenza talks about, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, and, disassociating with the body, so that your new self can be,
not identifying with
not
the old
existing
disease.
with the C word that is inside, but disassociating from that and connecting with the unified field. I mean, these are all things that people are like, so many people like on this Reddit channel that's devoted to Eamon and Beck, that they're like, oh, that's just a bunch of hogwash. That's not true. That's just dangerous. They're violating YouTube's terms of service, and they should have their channels stripped away. And when you say that, and when I mentioned it to Mark, it's not like you haven't experienced.
Oh gosh, I've experienced. That's what people do. But here you have this couple that already have hardship, and they want to create more hardship for that couple.
Yeah.
So I mean, and people, it's like the sad thing is that they don't know what they're talking about. They think they do because they have been taught to listen to the man in the white coat, to listen to their pastor, to listen to their teacher, to listen to the people that control this world. And when you break free from those control, when you realize that there's more to life than what you've been taught in school, your colleges, the systems that have created, the indoctrination that you have been given from a very young age, and you break free from that, you realize that there's more to life than meets the eye. Totally. Yeah. So we will have a show regarding, the amazing ability that meditation does provide. Manifestation is something that clearly, when you learn to tap into that unified field and you learn to connect to your higher self, there's so much that you can learn to do. There's so much that you can control in this matrix. Yeah. But, everyone has got to be where they're at. And I mean, eventually, I believe we're all going to get there. We're all going to evolve and transcend this small-minded reality that we have created for ourselves. And it has been created for a reason, because it has taught us, but now we're ready for something else. And in that something else, I don't know if many of you have heard of Terrence Howard. He's an actor. He's been in the
Iron Man movie. Yeah. He was in a TV show that was on Fox. Trying to remember the name of it. Empire. And he was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he presented some of these same things that we're going to talk about today. He presented that to a large audience, right, and was ridiculed by many for doing so. I'm not sure, I don't remember if Joe Rogan actually poked fun at him during the show, but I think he was trying to give him a fair chance and stuff. But the comment section was littered with, again, a bunch of people that really don't understand the possibilities of what is out there.
Yeah, because people get programmed from a very young age to believe that 1 + 1 = 2, right? Or that certain things are a certain way because somebody some time ago said it. They used to make fun of Galileo. They used to make fun of Newton. They used to make fun of anybody with any new ideas that would break free from the old paradigm. Got crucified, got made fun of, and there's no difference now.
A heretic,
and all sorts of different things. But we are learning, we are growing, we are seeing that we have so much potentiality, and that there is a group of individuals, I like to call them a bloodline, reptiles, that have set the world the way they want so they can continue to feed from us and control us. And so when people try to step out of line, you become ridiculed, burned at the stake as they've done throughout history. But I believe that now is the time where we're going to break free from all these old paradigms, from religion, from the old beliefs, systems that were created by the church. You know, a lot of the things were created by the church. And then, of course, Big Pharma with all their meds that may have a place, I believe, in emergency situations, but for chronic diseases, they suck.
Yeah.
They really do. They have too many side effects.
You know, this interview that we're going to talk about, it was a podcast that was done on Billy Carson's channel, Forbidden Knowledge TV. And Billy Carson, you know, he's into like UFOs, ancient aliens, ancient civilizations. He does a lot of research and work. He's traveled the world. He's done lots of like personal firsthand account stuff with that. And he invited Terrence on because he noticed that Terrence was getting just beaten down by these comments on the Joe Rogan YouTube comment section or whatever it was. And he actually spoke for him, you know, in support of him. And Terrence Howard reached out to him from that interaction, and they put together a really incredible.
Yeah, and because they both have felt the wrath of the Christians who always try to label anything that stems away from the Bible as demonic, as evil, where really it's the other way around. They're the ones that are setting forth demonic and evil things and controlling the world. They're the ones that have slaughtered many people with the Christian Crusades. They're the ones that have silenced many people that have had greater and better ideas and better ways and better and more answers, because Christianity doesn't have any answers. No. It's just a very in the box, you know, very fairy tale, very small-minded. And we're beyond that as a species. We are evolving, we're growing. We want more, better answers than what we've been given. So anyway, Lena, what did you think of that interview with Terrence Howard? His ideas are pretty out there, aren't they?
Out there is definitely one way to put it, Mark. But you know, I have to admit, I found myself getting swept up in his enthusiasm. He's clearly a very intelligent and passionate guy. It's inspiring to see someone so willing to challenge conventional thinking and explore new possibilities.
I agree. And he does make some interesting points about the limitations of current scientific models. Like when he talks about how most of the universe is still unexplained, labeled as dark matter and dark energy. It does make you wonder if we're missing something fundamental.
Right. And his idea of a universe built from the outside in through contractive forces is intriguing. It challenges the traditional Big Bang model and offers a different perspective on the nature of gravity.
Yeah, and his whole concept of wave conjugation, predicting where matter occurs based on harmonic nodes, is fascinating. It's like he's saying there's a musicality to the universe, a hidden symphony of vibration. Before we go on, I want to go ahead and actually share this. And it's very true. I mean, you know, we have these things called dark matter, right? And we know that the universe follows this music type, note type of things. Let's see here. This, let me see where it hasn't opened up yet.
Did you hear that?
No. It's not. Actually, it was supposed to be something else, but yeah, because it's a video and I don't want to get it's a video and I don't want to get a copyright.
Okay.
But there's something else that we're going to be sharing. So yeah, I mean, during that interview with Billy, he shared some sort of like contraption that literally has a shape of like it's created like a drone, and then it kind of lifts up all these different objects with ways that we defy what the natural
technological innovation now.
Totally.
And he's not just theorizing, he's actually built things based on these ideas, like that tangential flight system we were talking about with the drones. To see it in action is pretty mind-blowing.
And I wanted to share that video, but I just thought all of a sudden copyright, I don't want to get a strike. So I know in that propulsion system, harnessing the power of an electrically overloaded capacitor sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but he actually even patented a lot of these things.
He did. And not just to make money off of it, but to protect it from getting in the wrong hands.
Exactly.
But it's real, Mark, and he has the patents to prove it. Makes you wonder what other incredible innovations are possible if we start looking at the universe through a different lens, like Terrence is doing.
Yeah, and here's what I really wanted to share. I thought it was the other one, but yeah, he's his mind is pretty impressive. Very, very impressive, and I love intelligence. When I see individuals, that have certain capacity and are able to figure things out and are able to like get away from the box, it's just amazing to me. So he's got this concept of the linchpin, right? This is his webpage. It's some sort of design, and he also explores the square root of 2, where he really let's see here,
kind of like define what predefined things have had to say about our universe.
Yeah, limiting
we've expected and accepted the things that we were told, that things don't play out the way that we're told they do.
Right.
That they're not telling us the truth.
No, they're not. And it's very limiting because it's almost like it gives you limiting what's the word I'm looking for? It limits the ability to expand. Like this universe, the way it's set up is always to like have things die. And that wasn't the original design.
Right.
The original design was to have things live forever.
Right.
And blossom. It's like the tree or a flower. It has a lifespan, and then it just tilts and dies away, wilts and dies away. Well, the linchpin plays a vital, fundamental role in the manifestation of our universe. I'll put this website of his, but it's really mind-blowing and enlightening at the same time. It's really, really good stuff. So let me go ahead and get this particular screen. So his linchpin concept is pretty key to this whole theory. It's like missing the pieces of the puzzle, connecting everything together.
It seems to be the linchpin in his view of a holographic universe where everything is interconnected, and he uses it to explain everything from faster than light communications to 0-point energy generation. It's a lot to wrap your head around. It's very, it would just blow you away.
Yeah.
If you really did do a deep dive into what he is really trying to explain.
I know, and he even talked about the possibility of teleportation. If he's right, it could revolutionize everything from space travel to data storage.
It's all very exciting, but I think one of the most important things Terrence emphasized was the need to question everything, to be critical thinkers. It's like not something that we're even told to be anymore. Everything's supposed to be, this is what the science says. This is what the Bible says. You can't really think for yourself, and not just blindly accepting the status quo. That's something we can all do. regardless of our scientific background.
Yeah, it's important to question things, absolutely. And his passion for inspiring young minds, especially young Black minds, is truly commendable. His Black History Inventor Hall of Fame Museum is a fantastic project.
I agree. It's crucial to have role models who look to you, who look like you, who demonstrate that anything is possible. Like the guy who invented, we say, oh, Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. But
Right.
it was this African American guy who literally had the concept for, what was to become the light bulb. Like if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't have been a light bulb. And Thomas Edison gets the credit as if he invented it.
Right. And
but he didn't do all the hard work.
right. And then they only give you the information that they want you to know, and they hide all the things that they don't want you to know, and it's crazy, but this is the world that we're living in. So Terrence Howard was born in Chicago in 1969, and his early years weren't easy. His childhood was shaped by both Christianity and Islam, giving him a diverse spiritual foundation, but it was also full of hardship.
And there's a specific moment from his childhood that really stands out. A traumatic experience involving injustice in a Muslim community. Mark, that moment seemed to be a turning point, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And, like Terrence, many people have those turning points, and a lot of it involves religion. I think there should be a class action lawsuit against religions because they've caused a lot of harm to a lot of people. To this day, there are people that are committing genocide, and you know who we are talking about, in the name of their God. And it's been throughout the Bible, and it's been throughout history. It really was. The experience made Howard question not only divine justice, but the nature of reality itself. It set him on a lifelong quest to find answers that mainstream science couldn't provide.
And then, as he grew up, Terrence became fascinated with geometry. He started questioning some of the biggest scientific principles out there, like Einstein's theory of relativity.
Here's a direct quote from Terrence. If the universe is built on flawed assumptions, then our understanding of reality is inherently flawed. That's a bold statement, isn't it?
Absolutely. But it's also a powerful reminder that progress often starts with questioning the status quo.
Totally. And Terrence Howard faced numerous challenges during his early life, many stemming from the difficult environment he grew up in and societal injustices he faced as a Black man in America.
Surviving in a difficult neighborhood, Howard emphasizes the challenge of, quote, surviving the Black neighborhood, unquote, highlighting the harsh realities he experienced. He recounts witnessing violence, including shootings and stabbings, probably in the South Side they talk about being in Chicago, and reveals that he himself was both shot and stabbed. This paints a picture of a childhood marked by danger and hardship.
Struggling with a sense of self and purpose, and you can't blame him, growing up in a disadvantaged environment, which many Black men grew up in that kind of environment, Howard wrestled with finding his own identity and purpose, particularly when witnessing family members resort to nefarious things for survival. He questions how to maintain morality amidst a world riddled with darkness and immorality, alluding to the internal conflict of navigating right and wrong within a challenged environment.
These challenges, while significant, seem to have fueled Howard's determination to break free from the limitations imposed upon him by his environment and societal structures. His experiences with poverty, violence, and racism, coupled with his unwavering curiosity and thirst for knowledge, seem to have propelled him toward his unique path of scientific exploration and artistic expression.
That's why I always believe that for every bad, quote unquote, things that happen to us, something good happens in return. We have to feel the fire as part of alchemy. We have to face pain and challenges. That lights up a fire underneath us to want to grow, learn, and do something different in the world. And it seems like Terrence has one of the many individuals of the world that have gone through that and then made lemon out of lemonade, or lemonade out of lemons. So Terrence Howard's religious upbringing had a profound impact on his scientific pursuits, Raised in a Christian household with Baptist and Methodist influences, he later embraced Islam through his father's teaching. This exposure to multiple religious perspectives seemed to have fueled his desire to seek truth and challenge established dogma, which ultimately led him to question traditional scientific theories.
Experiencing injustice within his religious communities triggered his skepticism. A pivotal moment occurred when a fellow Muslim was harshly punished for an offense, prompting Howard to question the concept of divine justice, particularly the idea of eternal damnation in Christianity. This led him to scrutinize religious doctrine and seek a deeper understanding of truth beyond religious frameworks.
Biblical passages sparked his interest in geometry and cosmology. Howard recalls being intrigued by biblical descriptions of the earth shape and the universe structure. Passages referencing the earth being suspended as a circle and angles as the four corners of the earth sparked his curiosity about geometry, pushing him to explore scientific explanation of his concept. And if you think about it, geometry, I mean, these geometric shapes that literally form everything from molecules to you name it, and it's the basics of it all.
Howard sees his scientific pursuit as a form of spiritual practice. He connects his desire to make way for life, quote unquote, to his understanding of universal structure and his pursuit of scientific truth. This aligns with his upbringing, where seeking truth and living a morally upright life were core values.
While Howard's journey into science began with questioning religious doctrines, it's crucial to note that he doesn't see science and spirituality as separate entities. He believes that quantum physics provides a framework for understanding the spiritual realm, suggesting that the two are interconnected. His scientific pursuits, particularly his emphasis of harmony and balance in his theories, could be seen as an extension of his desire for a deeper place within it, which initially stemmed from his religious upbringing.
Terrence Howard's scientific pursuits revolved around his self-developed concept of Terryology, which he describes as a system of understanding and manipulating the fundamental building blocks of the universe. This concept stems from his exploration of various scientific ideas and his personal observations of natural phenomena. Here are the specific scientific concepts he explored and developed.
Redefining fundamental geometry. So Howard challenges the traditional notion of the Platonic solids as the fundamental shape of the universe. He proposes that these shapes are merely approximations derived from the more fundamental structures of the flower of life, a geometric pattern composed of overlapping circles. He argues that by opening the flower of life based on universal ratio, a new set of fundamental shapes emerges, which he calls the tetryon, hunan, auban, and others. These shapes, according to Howard, more accurately represents the building blocks of the universe.
Wave conjugations and the linchpin, quote unquote. Building upon his redefinition of fundamental geometry, Howard introduces the concept of wave conjugations, quote unquote, which describe the interactions and relationships between his proposed fundamental shapes. He emphasizes the role of the quote unquote linchpin, a pentagonal shape derived from his tetryon model, as a crucial element in these interactions. He believes that understanding these wave conjugations can unlock the secrets of the universe and lead to groundbreaking technological advancements.
Well, it's, if you really think about it and you break down an atom or a proton, neutron, and all these pieces of the puzzle, the things that could be created by learning how to manipulate these substances, these things, are beyond our human understanding. But we've been given these very limiting formulas to work with and expect us to just continue to be dumb or in the box. And there's just so much more. Tangential flight Howard applies his understanding of wave conjunctions and the linchpin to develop a new form of flight he calls tangible flight. This involves using multiple propellers strategically placed around a central point, inspired by the arrangement of linchpins in his geometric models. He claims his technology allows for flight around an object center of mass, enabling precise maneuverability and heavy lifting capabilities. Like we were thinking, how the pyramids were built. If people think that the pyramids were built by man, pushing and tugging and pulling on ropes, going as high as they did, they're really not well informed.
Yeah.
So these things that he's tapped into are things that was used by the prior civilizations.
And I don't think people understand the degree of precision that is involved with the pyramids and stuff. That each rock, each granite piece is very unique. It interlocks with the other piece that goes in. It's not like they mass produce, I remember hearing about the story of Moses and the people, children of Israel, and how Pharaoh told them that they could no longer use straw or something in their, and that they had to build it was like, wait a second, they're not just manufacturing a cube of a bunch of cubes, like as if it was like some big oversized sugar cube. It was a unique piece that was like, it fit in the puzzle that they were making. And that's not something that you could just, build it and then like place it and stack it. It's not like you're just, stacking Legos or something.
Yeah.
So projectile propulsion. Howard has developed a novel system for projectile propulsion that harnesses the explosive power of water. Instead of relying on traditional chemical propellants, this technology utilizes an electrically overloaded capacitor to rapidly vaporize water, creating a plasma-like state that generates significant propulsive force. He posits that this method can achieve much higher speeds and distances than even conventional projectile weapons.
And people think that we have advanced. We've actually digressed. All these systems were around. If you look at these older buildings that they claim were built in the 1700s with all the horse and carriage and no power tools, we have to understand that we didn't build these things. These things were built by a different civilization altogether, which most likely used these kinds of things that Howard is talking about.
Yeah.
Howard, as an error correcting code, inspired by the discovery of error correcting codes in quantum physics. Howard proposes his own concept, dubbed the Howard comma, which he believes acts as a harmonic and geometric correction across quantum fields. He suggests that this code can stabilize quantum states, enabling a breakthrough in faster than light communication data, storage, and even manipulation of space-time itself.
Challenging mathematical norms. Howard questions the conventional understanding of mathematical principles like multiplication and the value of pi. He argues that the universe operates through division rather than multiplication, suggesting that current mathematical models are flawed in their representation of universal processes.
And I believe it was done on purpose, totally done on purpose to keep us limited, to keep us failing at every end. But those that control our world, the bloodline, know exactly what they've done. He also claims that pi is a whole number contrary to its widely accepted irrational value. While these concepts stem from Howard's personal research and observations, they haven't been widely accepted within the scientific community, nor will they. I mean, are the archaeologists, all the scientists, they don't want the mold to be broken. They want to stay with what they've been teaching and taught, because there is somebody above on top of that pyramid controlling everything. They don't want us to unravel the truth, kind of like the Bible. Let us come down and confuse their language. mankind now have become like us. They worry. And it seems like every time we're getting to the verge of discovering, of growing, of evolving, they knock us back down.
I mean, he claims to have received patents, like we were saying before,
Yeah.
for several of his inventions, but the sources provided, they don't detail the specific patents or their validity. His ideas often clash with established scientific theories, leading to skepticism and criticism. Howard, however, remains steadfast in his belief that his approach to science can revolutionize various fields and unlock the truth.
So, all right, let's break this down. Segment 1, Terrence Howard's journey into Terryology. Howard's story is fascinating, starting with his religious upbringing. He was exposed to both Baptist, Methodist, and Christianity and Islam, which planted seeds for his lifelong quest for truth.
Absolutely, but a key turning point came when he was just 13 years old. He witnessed violence within his Muslim community, which led him to questioning divine justice and the concept of eternal punishment. That doubt became the foundation for his pursuit of alternative answers.
He also had the unusual fascination with geometry, inspired by biblical references like Earth being a circle or angels standing at angels standing at the four corners of the earth. He began connecting spiritually with the physical structure of the universe.
And that curiosity eventually turned into a rejection of traditional science. He critiques theories like string theory and relativity, claiming they lack real-world applications. Instead, he studied fringe scientists like Schauberger and Maxwell, who emphasized geometry and energy.
The building blocks of Terryology.
Let's talk about the core of Terryology. Howard's proposed alternative to the Platonic solids as the universe's building blocks. He claims that these traditional shapes are just approximations derived from the flower of life, a geometric pattern.
Right. He introduces his own set of shapes, names like the tetryon, hunon, and aubon. These forms are supposedly more reflective of the universe's true geometry, focusing on natural curvatures in all actions and reactions.
And then there's that concept of wave conjugations. The idea suggests that dynamic interactions between his fundamental shapes create matter and energy as we know them.
The centerpiece of his theory is something called the linchpin, a shape Howard says acts as a universal connector. He even ties it to the phenomenon like Saturn's hexagonal North Pole. So now we have the application and implication. Now, Howard's theories aren't just academic. He's proposing real-world application like tangible flight. It's a patent technology where objects fly around their center of mass using unique propeller arrangements.
He also has a propulsion system that uses the explosive force of vaporized water. He believes this can surpass traditional weaponry and even be used for space exploration.
And then there's the Howard comma, which he calls a universal error correcting code. According to him, this could stabilize quantum states, enabling faster than light communication, holographic data storage, and space-time manipulation. And I think, totally believe that we are already manipulating that with like time travel. I totally believe that there are individuals that have gone to the future and they totally know things that are going on. We got somebody commenting. Let's see what we got here. So it's Indrid Cold, and they say Terrence Howard. Hey, I know now who you're talking about. Great comedian, dumb as the duck, but great comedian. Leave science to educated people, please. And Earth is not flat. Sorry, no one said the Earth was flat. And again, we're living in a world where people like yourself that probably the description that you're trying to put for Howard fits you more than it would him. At least he's doing something to try to break free from this enslavement of the world that we're living in and the lack of true information. We've been lied to about everything. And we're now finally starting to step out.
You're free to, continue believing in what you believe in. But for those of us and others like us who would like to know more, this is why we're here.
Right.
We're not here to to spout out the traditional, du jour.
You're right. And, as far as he's not even a comedian, he's an actor, so you got that wrong. And leave science to the educated people. Would that be educated people that are being paid for by certain lobby groups that want to enforce certain things so that they can get their way? Is that the kind of educated people that you're talking about? Because that is the world of science that we live in. That is the world that we're living throughout. Archaeologists, all the systems are paid by lobbyists and people that want to push their agenda on the world and keep us dumb as you think Howard is. But again, you're entitled to your opinion. Why? Like take it out?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was there. I mean, we're moving on.
Oh, yeah, but that comments stay.
No, I said just take it off of the...
No, it's fine.
Oh, you're going to keep it there?
Yeah.
So segment 4 is criticism and controversy. It's worth noting that Howard's ideas face significant skepticism.
Yeah,
like Ingrid
Cold, yeah.
Critics say his theories lack scientific rigor and haven't been validated through peer-reviewed research.
Yeah, and peer review, if you all really understood what peer review is all about, again, it's people that pay money to get their review in a certain books or, front line, but they aren't worth the paper they're written on because it all depends. See, money walks, BS. What's that old saying? Money talks, BS walks, or something like that. We are living in a world of bullies, like the country that we are living on right now. Bullies. They've bullied their way throughout the world, having 800 military bases throughout, forcing their way, taking things from other people, making them theirs, even though it doesn't belong to them. And it goes on in cycles.
And painting themselves as the benevolent,
yes, as
freedom
fighters, and
of the world.
Yeah, and it's all a lie. And even in acting career, his scientific pursuits have created tension. Fellow actors have reportedly labeled him crazy for some of his more outlandish claims. And
but,
again, he's an actor, not a comedian. There's
something admirable about his courage. He's willing to stand by his ideas, despite ridicule, and continue exploring uncharted territory. So
one thing we can't overlook is how Howard's religious upbringing influences science. He doesn't separate the spiritual from the scientific. You really can't, because true spirituality and science pretty much have the same thing. Now, eliminating the dogma, and although some scientists do have dogma, as we've seen, they aren't willing to alter their way of thinking because then it makes them look bad. All these years of research, and you mean that, oh my God, I'm wrong? That kind of thing. He doesn't separate the spiritual from the scientific. Instead, he sees quantum physics as a framework for understanding the divine.
And that is a bold stance in a world where science and spirituality are often treated as opposing forces. Mm-hmm. It's clear that his religious experiences, both inspiring and traumatic, shaped his worldview.
Yeah. And same thing with Billy. Billy's had, he had a rough childhood as well. And, he was raised Christian. And I mean, it's crazy. And maybe that's what makes Terryology so compelling. It's not just about rethinking geometry or energy. It's about finding deeper meaning. And I find it that human beings are afraid of finding deeper meaning. They want the simpleton. Once upon a time, God created the heavens and the earth in 7 days, and blah, blah, blah. The simpleton approach, which doesn't give you much answers to our questions.
So the segment is called The Future of Terryology, segment 6.
Right.
So what's next for Terrence Howard? He's advocating for more collaboration with universities and researchers to test his theories. He even went to some of these HBCUs, Black colleges, to present them with his findings,
so that they
would be innovative and have the tools. Because I do believe that the African people, and from that continent, that they were the innovators, and that they were the the people who got these breakthroughs.
Right.
You know, they were the inventors.
Yeah.
They were the ones that knew about this. You know, so it's almost like it's in their DNA.
Right.
You know, but they rejected him.
Because unfortunately
they don't want to lose out on their funding.
Yeah, their funding. Unfortunately, you know, people have become sellouts to a system that has lied to them, but they're still believing these lies. They're too afraid to venture out to like go, no, wait a minute, this just doesn't sound right. There's got to be more to this than we're being told. People are just lazy. They're afraid. They just don't want answers.
You know, some people call some of what African Americans eat today as you know, part of their soul food diet. You know, that it's part of the family, you know, traditions and stuff. And the reality is that it's what food was provided to them on the plantation.
Yeah, what they were allowed to eat.
What they were allowed to eat was chitlins and, you know, pig's feet or whatever it was.
High fat, highly processed foods that are not good for them, that they continue to eat because it's the food that they were raised with when they were slaves. And luckily, though, a lot of individuals are starting to see that, and they're starting to improve their diets, and they're trying to do better for themselves, break away from the mentality, you know, that like this person said, and they just removed they retracted their own message. You know, that, oh, leave it to the smart white man scientist. Yeah. You know, it's like, come on. And whether or not his ideas pan out, they're a reminder of the importance of curiosity and challenging established paradigms.
Exactly. And even if Terryology doesn't rewrite physics, it is a testament to the power of unconventional thinking. And that's something we can all learn from.
So definitely. So what is Terryology? At its core, it's a reimagining of the building blocks of reality. Howard argues that traditional geometry, the kind of most of us learned in school, has it all wrong, and for a reason.
I hated that subject.
Oh,
I hated geometry.
Geometry was, but it is very important because it's the foundation.
The way that they taught it, I think that's why I hated it.
Yeah, because it didn't make any sense, because it doesn't, because it's wrong. It's not the right formulas.
Well, you know, instead of relying on platonic solids, which are shapes like cubes and pyramids, Howard introduces his own shapes. These include the tetryon, like you said before, the hunon, and the albon. Explain these shapes for us, Mark.
Well, imagine a universe where these shapes are the foundation of everything: matter, energy, even time. He also talks about something called wave conjugation, which he believes are an interaction that hold the universe together.
And at the center of it all is something he calls that linchpin. Yeah. Howard claims this concept could unlock infinite energy. Now that's a big claim. How do you feel about that?
It's ambitious, but hey, every major breakthrough in science starts with someone thinking outside of the box. What do you all think?
I mean, let's get into why Terryology matters. According to Howard, his theories could completely change technology. We're talking about water-powered energy, tangential flight, and even space travel.
Imagine if instead of gasoline and digging to all the way down to whatever to try to find oil and polluting our planet, that we could literally generate energy via water. I mean, that's the way the civilization prior to us, they had free energy. They got it from the ether. They were able to like make things. They did have water powered technology and energy. So imagine flying machines that don't need jet engines or fuel, or a communication system that works faster than light. Howard calls it the Howard comma. Linda, can you imagine those possibilities?
I can, but it's also makes me wonder how close is any of this to becoming reality? Has he tested these ideas?
That's the big question. Howard critics argue that that's not enough evidence or peer-reviewed research to support the claims. But even if you only scratching the surface, the possibilities are exciting.
It's a reminder that innovation often starts with ideas that seem far-fetched at first. What do you think, listeners? Are you intrigued or skeptical?
Most likely skeptical. But you know what? I keep saying all these things that Howard's talking about are things that have been in the past,
Right.
past civilizations. If you look at the buildings that we have, these old world buildings, and you look at certain structures that they had where they garnered electricity from the ether without having to plug things in or without having to have these power lines, you know, we had free energy. We had all these things that
Not too long ago.
not too long ago, less than 300 years ago. We have been duped and lied about our timeline and what our past actually looked like.
I would say even less than that. I mean, around the turn of the century, they started pulling out all these electric cars and stuff and cable cars that were powered, and then they show how they just ripped up streets and pulled out rail and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, wait, we had a system and they yanked it out.
And a lot
they
of
replaced it with the car.
Yeah, and horse and buggy, of course, because it's just. I just wish that people would remove the veil. The evidence is right there, right in front of your very eyes. I don't know. Is it laziness? I don't know. So we have to talk about the challenges Howard has faced. The scientific community has been pretty dismissive of Terryology, citing a lack of experimental proof. And they'll always do that because there are people on the top that don't want these truths to come out.
And they benefit from not having it.
Of course, big oil. I mean, my gosh,
And Howard's personal life hasn't been without its controversies, from conflicts on the set, struggles in his relationships. He's had his fair share of ups and downs. What do you think? How do you think all this has shaped his theories?
Well, I think it's given him resilience. He's someone who's clearly passionate about finding truth, even if the world isn't ready to listen.
That is a great point. And here's a quote from Terrence. Every great idea starts as a joke, but the universe doesn't laugh. It listens. Powerful, isn't it?
It really is. Whether or not you agree with him, you can't deny his determination.
Before we wrap up, let's touch on how Howard's spiritual beliefs tie into his scientific theories. Growing up with both Christian and Muslim influences, he developed a unique perspective on faith and science.
He believes that quantum physics is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. For him, science isn't just about equations. It's about understanding the divine structure of the universe, a living universe.
Mark, do you think science and spirituality can coexist, or are they meant to be separate?
I think they complement each other. What about you?
I agree, and it's fascinating to see someone like Howard trying to bring those worlds together.
So, what do we take away from all of this? Terrence Howard's story reminds us the progress often comes from questioning what we think we know.
Exactly. Whether or not Terryology changes the world, it does challenge us to think differently. And that's always a good thing.
I look at where we are right now as a species. We think we're advanced. We literally think it's because we walk around with some little smartphones and we got computers. And now we're beginning to dabble with artificial intelligence, which I believe artificial intelligence has been around before. I believe that a lot of the things that we have been introduced to have been slowly, like toys in a toy box, and slowly bring these toys out to the kids. But those toys have been in a toy box. We had a reset. I believe that we've had several resets, and every time we get too smart for our bridges, the powers to be, not just a God, because I believe there are many, many gods, just tear it all down. I mean, that's evident by the mud floods that we have seen that are their evidence written, in our timeline. I believe by the structures of the past that we cannot duplicate now if our lives depended on it. We can't. I mean, there's just no way. None of these, you look at the houses they build now and the buildings they build now. It's a joke compared to the buildings, the old buildings, all the monuments, like the White House and all these like really impressive cathedrals and stuff that there's no way with the limited amount of population that we had in the 1800s there's no way we would have built that. We were starving. We were in a depression. There was war. But what kind of money did we have? What kind of things did we have to build these things? There's just no way. We didn't build it. So I believe that a lot of the stuff that Terrence is talking about is he's tapped in to something. And I believe that those in Hollywood have some sort of knowledge that the average Joe doesn't have. They're introduced to certain secret societies and things like that, and they've given this to him, and he's run with it, and he's trying to put it forth, kind of like feeling the ground to see how people would react, because all the things that he's talked about, that those flying drone type of things, and the linchpin and all that's stuff that prior civilizations had. Sure. Completely. It really, I don't want to say frustrates me, but to hear people talk down on things that they have no clue about, they don't understand. They talk about the science, but I'm sure that this person, Indrid, has no clue, because when you just present a critique without giving the basis for it, that just makes me understand that you know nothing yourself, and you just don't agree with it, so you're going to make fun of it. The same thing with Beck and Eamon, how the people are criticizing them and thinking that their meditation and their positive thinking is woo, which is not. The so-called woo-woo was been around before all this other stuff. Big Pharma is only 150 years or something. Yeah, there were barely any medication. There was like an antibiotic, there was like 2 or 3, and all of a sudden there's like this boom of medicine that the side effects are worse than the actual disease.
I remember hearing about, like, in the late 1920s,
Mm-hmm.
that these people that were commissioned by the government were traveling all over to hospitals and to different medical facilities and healing centers. And because back in the day, it was not uncommon to have like people going to these hot springs and these baths, and like going to these sanitariums or something,
Mm-hmm.
to get healing and stuff. That was like common. Even here, over here in Arizona,
mm-hmm.
at that inn that's all closed now off
Mm-hmm.
of Apache, they have these hot springs there that people would go and pay money to revitalize their bodies and stuff. And I think these people that were commissioned by the federal government to promote allopathic methods of using
healing,
using drugs, using compounds and things, that they were like telling the people that were doing the other, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's your time is done. Your holistic healing moment is over. Yeah. We're the new kids on town. We're the new kids on the block. We're taking over. We're going to make everything that you think is like legit illegitimate.
Right. They even tried taking away vitamins and nutraceuticals and things of that nature. But what was the real first medicines that we have? It was all herbal. Grandmothers always had these remedies, and boy, did they work. You have the shamans that introduce all sorts of different potions and things, and alchemists, and this brand new way of looking at disease that is like segmented. They don't realize that the body works as a whole. They try to break the body up, and they have all these specialists. One hand doesn't know what the other one's doing, and the body doesn't work that way.
And the biggest joke is like, they were pushing the daily vitamin, the multivitamin, as if that vitamin had any kind of like benefit to it. Because, when you produce something artificially in a lab, it's not the same as getting vitamin C from a orange or from some kind of, natural occurring piece of fruit or something.
I mean, vitamins are needed because you do, like, think of a lock and key. The lock is the fruit, and the key would be a certain vitamin that allows the enzyme to work together in the body, because our body's like one big chemistry set. So it's important to take vitamins. I'm a full on, I believe we need vitamin C. I believe we need vitamin D, because most people are not going to be out in the sun for the length of time. Sometimes their skin just can't absorb that amount of vitamin D for whatever reason. It's important to eat very healthy and as much as you can, because our mineral and our soil is so degraded. Monocropping and all the things that they've done have destroyed our soil. But, it's important to introduce your body to the things that it needs to keep that balance. Disease just means you're out of balance. You need to balance yourself. You need to, like, literally tap in to the source meaning the energy, that quantum field, and learn how to manipulate things within your body by utilizing proper food, exercise, sun, movement, meditation, and all that stuff. And we're going to have a show regarding that.
But the point that I was trying to make was that these people that were employed by the government,
mm-hmm.
they specifically had a job to disrupt the holistic approach and to disable it from being kind of like the common way of treatment
mm-hmm.
to making the physician and the doctor. And then you saw, like, later, the family doctor who would come visit, with his little satchel and,
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Well, that was about it for Terrence, but we're going to do our manifestation moment. I think it's important for people to understand that they have the ability, they have the power, they have the thing that has been placed in a book and told that you need to follow a certain guy by the name of Jesus and make him your Lord and Savior in order to be saved. I don't know, saved from what, that you can't do anything on your own. And that's just bogus, because you are the spark of divinity. You have everything that you need within you. You're like a self-cleaning oven. You got it all. Everything that you need is within you. You don't need anything outside of you. But they've taught you otherwise. So getting a handle on your sensitivity requires examining your past, figuring out your emotional scripts, and naming the emotions behind your reactions. That's all part of evolving into a mature, self-actualized human being. Now listen to these words: figuring out your emotional script. Most people aren't told how to handle their emotions, how to feel their emotions, and naming the emotions behind your reactions. That's definitely, little kids, they react. They don't know how to, they get angry and they throw a tantrum and they get upset, they start to cry. In order to self-actualize, you need to be able to put a handle on these emotions. You need to be able to feel them, own them, then let them go.
Guilty feelings can hurt your heart. It shrivels at the thought of causing pain on others. It cries at the very core of your existence when you feel ashamed for the many actions and wrongdoings that you've done.
Guilt can cripple you and paralyze you, making you question your integrity and your sense of self. Guilt has been used as a weapon against you, as a form of control to destroy your very core.
So let us renounce this foe. We do not grant it permission or call it our very own. We no longer claim it in our world, disempower it before it even enters your world. Stop, you are not welcome. I refuse to take ownership of you at all.
Imagine the wind blowing as it moves around your hair, blowing swiftly and insensitively through you, around you, deep inside you. This moving force shakes you, moves you, and takes the guilt you have and experience away from you.
Taking away the hurt, pain, the consistent nagging fray that has followed you throughout the day, you no longer claim it. It's been erased from your haven. You now feel free of guilt and condemnation. It serves no purpose, nor does it have a place in your heart and soul. Let it go, set it free, replace it with love and light and peace.
You were created for greater things than this. So fly, to soar, to be love, and so much more. Guilt does not live here. So yeah, that was my little, it's really sad how we've been taught to squish ourselves down further, to be guilt ridden, to feel shame. And all these feelings really have no purpose at all. It's just destructive in every which way and form. So we're going to end with our movie review.
We had two doozies.
Two really good ones. Gladiator and Wicked.
They called it Glicked Weekend.
Yeah, Glicked.
Yeah, because people went to go see both movies, and they both did not disappoint.
No.
I mean, Gladiator on Saturday was an epic film. It was, the cinematography in it is incredible. It's like Hollywood at its best.
Yeah, and the actors were amazing. The storyline was dramatic. We had Denzel Washington. What was that other guy who's played the son of the original Gladiator? I forgot his name, but really good actors, really good plot, cinematography, fantastic. I can give it a 10 out of 10 for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that will go down in history for sure. It's one of the best movies. One of the best ancient civilization movies I've ever seen.
Totally.
It was just the scene set in Rome, ancient Rome, the depictions of the culture, the people, the big massive wide shots, that are so iconic to making movies in Hollywood, just how they show the Colosseum. And I mean, there were sharks in the Colosseum. They filled it up with water. Yeah. And it was like, it's pretty insane.
As I was watching, I couldn't help but notice the architectural in the day. It's like I'm thinking
old world.
They couldn't have built it. There's just no way. They didn't have the machinery. They didn't have, the tools. They didn't have the whereabouts. They kind of inherited them, from the old world, from the other civilization. And then there was Wicked, musical.
Wicked. Wow. Yeah, what a masterpiece of a movie that was. That's like a storytelling at its finest.
Yeah.
It's like the weaving of that story, interlocking it with The Wizard of Oz, and how, people have seen the Broadway show, 12 years ago or whatever, 20, I don't know how many years ago, Wicked made its run on the Broadway scene. And it was really, really popular. I wish I would have seen it. But, I mean, the way they showed it, it was like the interaction, the way that, the Wicked Witch was before The Wizard of Oz, and how they made her out to be evil.
Yeah.
When she really, and there was like one part where you were really touched with the animals and stuff. I mean,
the animals had a voice during that time, and the system deemed it that they weren't going to allow the animals to speak anymore. Animals even were professors, and I truly believe, I'm very connected to animals in the wild. I mean, I love watching Instagram videos of animals that have been helped by human, they've been hurt, and then they build this tremendous bond. I truly believe that there's been a missing link in the storyline in the animal kingdom. And I believe that we were very well connected. We understood them. They understood us. There was a language spoken. And the movie showed that, and that part really touched me. I'm really, I don't know, there's a part of me and I guess it's my spiritual side, that sees things very different from how typical humans see it.
There was one scene that really touched me, and that was the scene in which Elphaba, the Green Witch, right? She shows up at this party, and she's like the outsider because she's green, right? She doesn't look like everyone else,
right?
And she's also black, right? Because I mean, that's the underlying also that we know about.
Right.
And basically, she starts doing her own thing.
Yeah.
And the character that Ariana plays, Glinda, or Galinda.
Galinda.
Yeah. She decides that she's gonna be her friend, and then she just starts doing the moves with her on the floor, and it was really touching.
Yeah. And I can relate with that part too, because growing up, I never related with anybody, because I always used to say, I'm not from this planet. People, the way people did things, I just didn't relate with them at all. So that part of the scene also was very touching for me.
The exciting thing is that the movie has a sequel.
Yeah.
So they said to be continued.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty amazing, how they weave that whole story into another movie.
Definitely.
Ariana did a great job.
She did.
Cynthia Erivo did a great job. I mean, the acting, I think there should be Oscar nominations in that movie for either one of them. I mean, supporting actress, best lead actress, in a movie. I mean, it was, And
then the magic, the magic and the whole. I've always loved movies that deal with magic. I believe magic is true. It's real. We've lost that ability because we've lost the ability to dream. We've been placed on this concrete world, and I'm realizing that within the space, within that black hole, within that space, within the atom, there's so much more that we're not.
Where they say there's junk DNA, where they say there's nothingness, that's where everything resides. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
It's like in your dreams, when you dream at night, it feels real. And that's because it is. Because you're entering other realms. While your body in this realm is resting, your soul goes elsewhere. And, there's going to be a lot coming out regarding that, the dream world, and what it really means, what you really do when you're in that dream state. A lot of things that are going to be revealed. The world as we knew it will no longer, and I'm very confident that we're going to see so many things that are going to leave people a little perturbed, those that are used to things being a certain way. It's time to be flexible. It's time to dream. It's time to realize that magic is real, and that we are made for much more.
Yes.
Much more. Well, guys, hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, since I had one comment, and that comment was, pretty rude. But
what are you going to expect? Negativity seems to be pervasive on online spaces.
I think
for some reason,
the world of darkness seems to delve in the inner spaces. But we can't let people like that govern, because I think Terrence really does deserve. For somebody who can make money as an actor, he's a great actor. He decided to do this to his own detriment, to be made fun of. But, when you know truth in your heart, you can't care what other people think.
Right.
That's one thing I've learned throughout my life anyway. All right, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. We'll see you next Friday. I'm trying to think. Somebody asked us to do a show on the Menendez brothers.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I don't know if that would be a full show, but I was thinking about maybe putting together a show on them and equating it to a lot of the malcriados, or say the individuals that have been given too much in life. And, like I see a lot of the way the detransitioners behave, and I think that, they were given everything by their parents and allowed to transition. And all of a sudden now they're calling their parents evil, or trying to blame their parents. And it's like, but you drove your parents crazy. You like wouldn't let up, let up. And so I don't know, we'll see. But if not, I want to put something together regarding the science behind meditation and positive thinking and all that. I think that would be a good show.
Yeah, I mean, that word that escapes me when children get more than they don't appreciate.
Entitlement.
Yeah, entitlement.
Yeah.
And I, watching the documentary on the Menendez brothers that was out on Netflix, I think it was. I just saw a couple of guys that were very entitled and, did the wrong thing. I mean, they did something that is unconscionable to do to your parent. No matter what your parent may have subjected you to, there's no reason that should have taken place.
Exactly.
And I think, like we have, like with, you were talking about detransitioners and stuff, and there's this one, Ellie, that has decided that she's going to become a voice, and she was trying to raise money to go to the recent Supreme Court hearing on transgender issues and stuff with regards to children and transitioning and all that, and the use of medications and all that. So she basically ran over her parents in the sense of not physically, but emotionally, and just online, just saying that they are leftist and that they don't believe the same way that she does, and that she realizes that she was being silenced, and but it's like this Ellie kid, who literally you couldn't have told that younger Ellie or Abel or who was
the other one,
Chloe,
yeah,
or any of them, not to transition, not to take this,
Courtney,
this approach to what they wanted to do with their lives and stuff. You couldn't have told them not to. The parents, they thought they were being, helpful and helping, because the kid's telling them, I'm going to die, if I don't get what I want.
Yeah, but that's what happens when entitlement. And then you get, individuals that cannot take responsibility for their actions, and they have to blame everybody and everything.
I mean, the Menendez brothers went partying after the whole thing. They went and got a bunch of clothes over on Rodeo Drive. They bought all kinds of stuff, without a heart to thinking, what in the world has happened here?
And then they created in their minds a scenario that their parents were being evil to them. And that was a lie. The parents were very loving, very giving, right. But that's the key. Sometimes no is an important word. And if you're a parent, limiting what you give your kids, because if you give them everything they want, you're going to have troubles on your hands for sure. There's a fine line. No is an important word. Yes. Very important. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. So we'll catch you next week. Have a great weekend. We love you, but remember to always love yourselves too. Good night. Have a good one.